to summarize the interview was conducted using motivational interviewing and cognitive behavioral therapy. At times, after we had moved on from like one goal topic to the next, we found that things started to overlap. There was a theme of loneliness throughout the whole conversation, and it seems like it stems from a lack of coping with the caregiver fatigue that she had experienced when her mother was ill, and then how she never really got a chance to process what was happening. Since it was just her and her mother alone in the home, she dealt with the majority of, the chemotherapy and radiation effects at home, and then that fear of losing your mother itself. Then she also was diagnosed with diabetes shortly after that, and there was another rush of emotions, and then she had this diagnosis of depression, which perhaps it was something that she was already carrying it over from the time that her mother was ill, but it wasn't diagnosed until later. And although she didn't mention her father much, but she didn't grow up with him. A few years later, she found out that he died in a car accident, and she never got a chance to meet him or talk to him. And I felt like that was something that I did not want to get into because it seemed very sensitive. And, being the second time that we talked about things like this, I didn't want to push her too much. But in summary, I feel that those three things are kind of what is keeping her isolated, what keep making her feel lonely, is that even though she has a large extended family, she doesn't really share a lot of these deep personal thoughts that stress her so much with others. Something that I thought about right away was that she had been involuntarily displaced, not just by her own diagnosis, but even before then, as a caregiver to her mother that was fighting breast cancer. Right away, those themes of compassion and empathy arose in me as I spoke to her. And I just kind of remembered my own young age, because she was dealing with this in her early 20s, and the difficulty of managing these situations at that age. It just felt terrible that she had to do this alone. And then I find that she herself is kind of voluntarily displacing herself from all interaction from others. And I noted to myself, not to her, but that this voluntary displacement is sort of in the wrong place. Like, she's displacing herself from the wrong things, that instead maybe she could voluntarily displace herself by going to these support groups, voluntarily displacing herself by going to church, that sort of thing. And that could help her better manage everything. Because even though now her mother is fine and her medical conditions are being managed, she's still separating herself from her family and friends.